What's up, everybody? Welcome into Around the Felt. We have a little bit of a Week 18 recap we're going to bring you guys tonight, but most of it's going to be, all the different head coaching firings, all the GM firings, and then me and Colin, my co-host over here, as you can
Yes,
see.
sir.
We're going to be doing a little mock draft for the non-playoff teams. So we're going to be doing, gut reaction picks 1 through 18 later in the podcast. And all right, so we're back. Dave's got us set up here with the mock draft simulator. Thank you to what is this, Pro Football's mock draft website.
Yeah, Pro Football. I think it's Pro Football Network. So this is a great mock draft setup. StreamYard, this setup is really cool. I'm digging this. Reagan, can I start? Because I want you to make the decision at number 2 what the Browns do instead of me, because I'm going to leave a quarterback for my Giants. So
sure, go right ahead.
Number 1 overall, I would go Shedeur Sanders. What I think's going to happen is Cam Ward. Apparently, the Titans are really digging Cam Ward. He's raw as a passer, but he has a big arm. He operates really well outside the pocket when it's off script. What he needs to get better at is operating on script and going through his reads and his progressions and making throws inside the pocket and staying on time. I think he can develop into that, but it's going to take some time. And the Titans, they do have some veterans on that offense that I think will help support him, but I think it's going to be a rocky year for Tennessee regardless. But give me Cam Ward, number 1. He's at number 6, Dave. There you go.
I know you were just saying that you wanted Shedeur, but then I heard Cam Ward's speech.
Yeah, so for number 2, I will go with Shedeur Sanders for the Browns. And I'm not even doing that to piss you off. I genuinely think the Browns do go quarterback at this point. I mean, the Deshaun Watson experience is over. I mean, you see these other teams kicking the cans on their quarterbacks that they gave big money to right away. I mean, look at the Falcons. They gave up on Kirk Cousins within the first year of his deal. Deshaun Watson, it hasn't worked out in 2 years. Kevin Stefanski obviously is a good quarterback mind. I mean, you saw what he was doing with Jameis Winston and what he did with Joe Flacco last year. So it's time. You got to give up. You got to go forward. And yeah, the team probably will suck next year, but at least you're going to get Sanders some experience. Once you start getting away from some of that money, it'll go towards the future. And I can't imagine guys in that locker room are going to be like, yeah, like we want Deshaun Watson. He's our guy. Nobody's riding with him. So I'm going Sanders here. I still think the Browns could trade back, but it's January. My gut reaction at this point is they do go quarterback, and they take Shedeur Sanders.
Can't blame you for that. This is an easy pick. Travis Hunter for the Giants. And we saw it in offseason Hard Knocks when Joe Schoen was talking to Shane Bowen, the DC, and he came over and he's like, we're thinking about getting Burns. But if we get Burns, we can't get a corner. We can't afford both. He understood that's the 2 biggest needs on that defense were edge and a corner. They didn't get a corner. Deonte Banks has not developed in what you hoped he would be when you took him the first round 2 years ago. He regressed this year, which is a problem. They need a lot of help in the secondary. Travis Hunter is a stud at corner, absolutely. Also with the Giants struggling, red zone offense. They had the worst red zone offense in football this year. Travis Hunter, I think, is going to be a full-time corner and have packages on offense, 15 to 25 plays a game. 25 might be even pushing it, but we'll see. I mean, no one's seen it happen before. Travis said he's going to do it. If I believe him, he's the top player in the draft. He's an elite receiver prospect. He's an elite corner prospect. So get Travis Hunter as your number 1 corner. Move Banks to the 2. Hopefully he recovers with a new DC because I guarantee they're going to fire Shane Bowen. And have Travis Hunter and Malik Neighbors rock in the red zone, and this offense could be a lot better next year.
Yeah, for me at 4, this is a slam dunk pick for the Patriots. Last year, you go Drake Maye. Hey, guess what? You have a terrible receiver core around him. Well, let's go get him his future wide receiver 1, and that's Tetairoa McMillan out of Arizona. I mean, the guy is a physical freak, 6'5", 210. Past 2 years, just dominated at Arizona State. 90 catches 2 years ago, 84 this year, going over 1,300 yards in both years, 8 touchdowns this year, 10 last year. I mean, the guy is a physical freak, so I think he'll slide right in there to the number 1, and it'll just be huge for Drake Maye's development. And, he may end up being the 101 in dynasty leagues as well next year.
No, that's going to be Ashton Jeanty, but it's fine. Number 5, easy pick for me, Will Johnson, corner out of Michigan. Dude is an absolute ball hawk. Lockdown corner, and the Jags just desperately need it. I mentioned earlier I like Tyson Campbell a lot, just doesn't stay healthy. And for someone that every week makes a touchdown score parlay, I'm always looking at, okay, who's playing the Jaguars and who are their receivers? Because This secondary got toasted all year. They're a bottom 5 passing defense in football. They need a lot of help on the back end. Will Johnson's a shutdown corner, and this is a plug and play easy pick for me.
Yeah, no, I like that one a lot. The Raiders pick is interesting to me because my gut tells me they will go quarterback, but they would trade back, because
Who are you taking here? You can't.
That's what I'm saying.
You
That's what I'm saying.
can't.
So you can't do that. I'd like to go edge, but you have Max Crosby. You took
Tyree Wilson, but
Thank you,
Tyree
Tyree
Wilson
Wilson.
in 2 years has been bad. And also
He's
Tyree
been
Wilson
bad.
is 6'7". He has the ability to kind of move inside, and you do have Christian Wilkins, where it's like, for a Raiders team, I wouldn't hate Abdul Carter, dude. He's just he's
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
or Mason Graham.
I know, and I was going back and forth between those two guys. I mean, you could go Jeanty here. I might go Jeanty.
You could go Jeanty.
I might go Jeanty. You know what? I'm gonna go Jeanty. Give me Jeanty at 6. And the reason why is, a lot of people be like, well, the running back position, is it really the top need? But this team could not run the football at all this year. And, obviously it's going to be tough at whoever they decide to put in that quarterback, but he is a massive upgrade over the different, running backs we saw. We saw Alexander Madison. We saw Zamir White. Those guys couldn't get it done. I mean, Sincere McCormick showed a little bit in his time before he left with a season-ending injury. The best back they had was like a 30-year-old Amir Abdullah. He is not the future. So, go and get the best running back in football in Ashton Jeanty. Whoever their quarterback is, this will take a lot of pressure off of them. And you just add another dynamic weapon to pair with Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers in this offense, really setting up whoever's playing quarterback to potentially have some success. And if they do really roll with Aiden O'Connell for another year, this is only going to help him. I mean, they might, roll the dice and be like, let's give him one more year. There's no quarterback we like, or, try to bring in a veteran to compete with them, kind of like they did with Minshew. But at least Jeanty will add, another dynamic part to this offense, which his team lacked, was a running game.
All right, for the Jets, I'm going to go Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. They really struggled to stop the run this year. I think you already have Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald at the edge spots, who are 2 young ascending players, and I like both of them a lot. And they've both proven themselves that they're already very productive pass rushers. Add Mason Graham next to Quinnen Williams, and now that defensive line is looking like something. I think Mason Graham has an absolute motor in the middle, great against the run. He's got some push in the interior. So I think this is a slam dunk pick for the Jets, man.
I got another slam. Speaking of slam dunks, I got a slam dunk for the Panthers here. They're going to go with the edge rusher out of Penn State, Abdul Carter.
I can't believe he slid to 8, but just how it happened, Abdul Carter at 8 is a phenomenal value.
Yeah, and hey, this is reaction in January. A lot will change between now and then, but at the end of the day, this team's leading sack guys were a tie between Jadeveon Clowney and A'Shawn Robinson at 5.5. Both of those guys are definitely not the future for the Panthers. Both of those guys are on the other side, or I'm sorry, Robinson's only 21, but still, both of those guys are, close to their 30s, Clowney being 31. So this team desperately lacks the need for some edge pressure. And guess what? Their best defensive tackle this year went down very early. I seem like such a casual
Derek
right now.
Brown.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. But yes, they lost Derek Brown very early on. So you get to pair Abdul Carter with Derek Brown. They can really get some stuff done and give the Panthers a much needed edge rush. This team, struggled on all facets, but at least getting some pressure can, help this defense improve right away. But, outside of that, I mean, I could see them, trying to target some different things here, but just with him sliding that far, it's a no-brainer.
No-brainer. I'm going to take Mykel Williams, edge out of Georgia. This dude has the potential to be a dominant pass rusher. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Trayvon Walker in the sense that, yes, he's from Georgia, but a very toolsy player that has certainly not reached his ceiling in college. I mean, this dude's frame is unreal. He's got long-ass arms. I think he's 6'5", like 260, 270. Just an absolute freak of an athlete. And with Cameron Jordan getting way up there in age, I mean, even if Cameron Jordan's going to be productive for another 2 years, you still need a lot more help on that D-line. So I think Mykel Williams will slot right in and maybe not be a monster sack guy year one, but a similar trajectory to Trayvon Walker where he puts it together and he could be a perennial double-digit sack guy.
Well, this mock draft is working out well for a lot of teams because I got Kelvin Banks Jr., tackle out of Texas. I mean, he's considered to be probably the best offensive lineman in this draft right now.
I disagree.
Right now. Oh, yeah? Who do you think?
Well, the guy I'm going to take next.
All right, fine. But still, I mean, they need a left tackle bad. Obviously, they were starting Larry Borum all year, and Caleb Williams was just running for his life. I know they drafted Darnell Wright. He ended up sliding into the right tackle. So, they're not going to give up on him. He'll probably stay there. But they really need another tackle. And I think Kelvin Banks can help solidify that. Caleb Williams was sacked just an unbelievably amount of times. And watching the games, you can't fully blame the line because it did seem like Caleb didn't have a lot of pocket awareness where he was holding onto the ball or trying to just make something where there was nothing. It's like, dude, just throw it away. So I'm not going to fully blame the line, but that needs to be the Bears' biggest need. And they got a lot of kickback last year because they opted to go with Adunze, a premium, when they already had Keenan Allen and DJ Moore overtaking an offensive tackle or an offensive guard. And you saw how it worked this year. Caleb Williams was running for his life. So they need to go offensive lineman with this pick.
I agree. I think the Bears definitely have to go O-line. I just would have taken Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU. For a pass rusher, if you get a sack a game, you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. As an offensive lineman, Reagan, you let up a sack a game, you're working at Amazon. Words of the great Will Campbell. Will Campbell's been a stud at LSU the past couple years. I mean, he's about as a sure thing as you're going to get in this draft at the offensive tackle position. And the problem is a lot of these tackles, most of them don't have the length to stay at tackle in the league. So I think there's going to be a plethora of interior linemen down the board, but the premium tackles, you got to get them now. And I think Will Campbell, put him at right tackle initially if Trent Williams comes back, assuming he will because he's still a dog. And that's a pretty damn good bookend tackle duo. And then you eventually shift Will Campbell over to the left side once Trent Williams retires.
All right, so this one's going to be interesting because the Cowboys do have a lot of different needs. I'm going with Luther Burden here.
Yeah, that would have been my pick.
He's one of the better wide receivers in this class. And while Dallas does have bigger holes elsewhere, I think he'll pair nicely with CeeDee Lamb. I think Dallas is really missing that number 2 wide receiver. I mean, Cooks obviously was injured most of the year. Jalen Tolbert did have 8 touchdowns, but I don't see him, truly being that number 2. He seems like more of a number 3 for me. I'm assuming Dak Prescott will be their quarterback next year. I mean, obviously a lot can change between now and the draft, but as of right now, if you're asking me in January, will Dak be their quarterback next year? I'm saying yes. So, he'll really help add to that core. You could have gone Will Johnson here, the corner. There were a couple different options. Or I'm sorry, no, you took Will Johnson already, didn't you?
Yeah, I took Will Johnson at 5.
Yeah,
buddy.
never mind. What am I talking about? So, there's a lot of different options you could have gone here with the edge rushers here. But ultimately, you still got Micah. You're going to pay him. So I think you can just, really add to that offense that, seemed to struggle, especially when CeeDee went down. It was like, who do we go to? Jake Ferguson then became your de facto 1.
It's a good pick. It's a pick I would have made. I know a lot of people have Ashton Jeanty going there, but hey, he's in this scenario. He's off the board at 6. He's gone. Dave, you mind scrolling down a little bit? I just want to see some other options before I punch in this pick. Some dudes, man. There's some dudes. Jalon Walker's nice, linebacker out of Georgia. No, I'm good. I'm going to take go back up to the top. I'm going to take Malaki Starks, safety out of Georgia. I know safety's not a premium position, and usually they slide down the board. We saw Kyle Hamilton go 14th overall, and he's an all-pro player. Malaki Starks might be a top 5, just pure player in the draft. Been an absolute stud at Georgia. Can play in the slot, can play basically anywhere in the secondary besides probably boundary corner. So I think that versatility be very valuable. And you do have a guy like Jalen Ramsey, assuming he also doesn't demand a trade in that room where you kind of have a great mentor for Malaki Starks. But just from a pure talent perspective, I think it's hard to pass on Starks here.
All right. So for the Colts, a lot of different options you can go here. But I'm going with a pass catcher. I'm going with tight end Tyler Warren. Colts
nice. Good
desperately
pick.
need a tight end. This is one of the best tight ends in college this year. A lot of people will know more about him after tomorrow night. We're filming this on on Thursday. Will be the game between Notre Dame. So I think we'll have a big game against them, and more people will get to know this guy's name. And if they win, then even more guys will get to know his name. So he's a name that, will keep sliding up draft boards. Seems like he's the best tight end. And I think after the past couple of years, it's proven that, between Bowers and Laporta, tight ends could end up being your number 1 pass catching option. So it's worth taking the risk on them early on in drafts. So I think the Colts get him here. You need to get Anthony Richardson some weapons. It sounds like they've committed to him, so they want to, give him at least another year before looking at other options. And the best chance to do it would be giving him another weapon. You obviously got JT. Pittman is a number one. They need to get him on the same page. You got Alex Pierce. You got Josh Downs. But that's something this offense is missing, is a true dominant number one tight end. And Tyler Warren can be that for them.
Yeah, Warren's a stud, dude. That's a pick I would have made too. And it's kind of like that security blanket for Richardson where, he's been so inaccurate, but if you have a guy that he can rely on kind of in the middle of the field, it might really help him ascend his game. So that's a great pick. That's who I would have taken.
Yeah, my only downside on that would be his run blocking. But, with his size, if they can, he's 6'6", 260. So if they can figure out how to really unlock him as a run blocker, he could be huge because obviously they already have a very good offensive line. So if they can fully develop him as a complete tight end, he could be very nice.
All right, Falcons. Is this the year? Well, I'm predicting it is. They take a pass rusher, James Pearce Jr. out of Tennessee. Pierce was getting talks of being a top 5 pick before the season. He has all the tools in the world, just didn't fully put it together at Tennessee. You didn't see the production that you would have liked, but undeniable talent. I mean, he can be a double-digit sack guy year in and year out, and it's about time that the Falcons address the edge rusher position. It's just it's too good of a fit. It's too good of a talent to pass up at 15.
Yeah, sorry. Your mic, one of your mics was echoing, but I think I fixed it. Yeah, so number 16, we got the Cardinals here. And this is a tough one to me because
tough.
Obviously, you would have crap, did my screen froze? Oh, no, I'm good now. Obviously you can go a couple different options here, but I think I might end up going with an edge rusher here. I still feel like that's something that, Arizona's really lacking here. So I'm going to go with, I think I might go with Jalon Walker here, out of Georgia.
I like Jalon Walker.
Obviously he is in a system where, we've seen a lot of Georgia guys be very nice off the edge. And I know he is an off-ball linebacker, but he seems like more of one of those hybrid players where you can kind of use him as a chess
both,
piece.
Yeah. He started as an edge rusher, but he kind of transitioned to off-ball. But yeah, he's a freak athlete.
And that's the thing. I think a defense like this that is lacking, some star players and studs, take the risk on a chess piece like this at 16 where you can, kind of plug and play them in different packages where you need them. So I'm going to have them taking Walker at 16. I don't know if I'll ultimately have the Cardinals, taking him when it comes down to it later on, but gut reaction in January, I'm going Jalon Walker.
It's a good pick. I mean, usually you can't go wrong taking a Georgia defensive player unless you're the Giants and take DeAndre Baker, but that's beside the point. 17 for the Bengals. This is my last pick. It has to be defense. I'm going to go Siobhan Revel, corner out of East Carolina. Now, most of us probably aren't very familiar with East Carolina football. What I am familiar with is size and speed at the cornerback position. This dude's a burner. I think he's going to run high 4.3s, at least low 4.4s, and he's 6'3". So when you have that size and speed combo at corner, NFL teams just drool at the mouth to try to get one of those guys in the room. And we all know the Bengals need so much help on defense. I think a guy with the tools like Revel, although it's a small school, hey, look, we just saw Quinnen Mitchell come from a small school, and he's a beast, right? So I think Revel will be a big upgrade in that secondary.
Yeah, so I'm coming in at 18. Seattle, to me, has to go offensive line here. I mean, you see, and we didn't even talk about it before, they let their OC go, and, the team did go 10-7 this year, but to me, it was a failure, especially on the offensive side of things. I feel like they could have had a lot more done. I mean, with all those weapons, and even the run game. I mean, you watched, if it was Walker, Charbonnet, they were getting hit behind the line a lot. So I think, Josh Simmons will add some key protection into that team. Whether or not it's Geno, that is to be determined. But at the end of the day, they just need to get some solidity on the offensive line. And he's one of the better pass protectors, but he also excels well on some heavy run schemes here. So give me Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. And, he's a guy I'm going to be definitely watching some tape on over the next game, or maybe two, depending on how Ohio State does on Friday.
It's a good pick. I agree. Seahawks kind of have to go offensive line here.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that wraps it up. We're only doing the non-playoff teams. We'll have plenty of time to do a full draft once the order is decided. But I think that was very fun to do. I
Yeah.
enjoyed doing it. Let us know in the comments, what we did wrong. I'm sure we didn't do anything right based off of what everyone will say, but let us know what we did wrong. What would you have done in this situation with how it worked out?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, dude. You know me. I love the NFL draft. I love doing mock drafts. It takes me back to my days in college where I didn't pay attention in class and just rip mock drafts for an hour. So always a fun exercise. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. We'll be back later in the week for the big pod, baby. Our playoff wild card weekends, what we think is going to happen in our brackets. We'll see. Hopefully Reagan's doesn't get busted. Don't take like the Texans or the Broncos to win it all this year. No Cleveland Brown dark horse type teams.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, we'll see. No promises. I will not promise nothing.